So I found this book in my room. This belongs to Jessica, Eisma, and JR. This was our joint sketchbook / journal. Oh, there's us. 2008. Pottery on a summer afternoon. Doodles of life. Let's have some story time. See if any of this is good. Slap. For the first time in the past minute, I had killed yet another gobble sprite. Their cacophonic screeches filled the atmosphere as I ventured through the thick vegetation. It was already nightfall, and I had abandoned my companions. They are not made for this kind of travel. Yet I begin to second-guess what I had just done, ever since the bloodshed. We're practicing writing a opening line to a book or something. This is mine. Monument was a neighborhood of kids. Yes, these kids had parents, but they aren't worth talking about. Perhaps kids is not even the correct term, since their ages ranged from 6 to 16. Mom, Dad, I yelled as I walked in from the hot. Then I gave up. I got it. Alright, so now I have a big story. There was a single house on a hill. During the daytime, the house brandished a pleasant sky blue paint job with dark gray shingles and white shutters. A wraparound porch circumscribed the first floor, while the second floor windows appeared to loom about almost ominously. Yet, at night, the house seemed entirely to change its color, as the sky blue siding impossibly became a dark red, the shingles changed to pitch black, and the white shutters tinted themselves purple. Lights were always on inside the house, even in the daytime, except for one exception. Every night, once the moon reached its zenith, the lights would shut off all at once, from 12 a.m. to 12:01 a.m. No, the lights wouldn't be turned off one at a time, as if a person were walking through each room. In the blink of an eye, every window would be masked into shadow. But it was not always like this. The owners of the house were a man and a woman. The man, Donwald Emund, and his wife, Elaine Emund, lived a satisfying experience at the top of that hill, at least for the majority of their lives. Prior to getting married and moving to the house on the hill, both Donwald and Elaine had known each other for their entire lives. They grew up together as children, living in a neighborhood many miles away from the hill, where they fell in love and stayed in love through adolescence and young adulthood. While growing up, Donwald lived with a single brother and his two parents. Elaine Durrell, as she was formerly known, lived with an older brother and even older sister, whose names were Edwin and Mika Durrell, along with her mother and father. Elaine did not live a pleasant childhood, as she was mistreated constantly by her elder siblings. Physically put down or mentally, Elaine was relentlessly reminded of her strangeness. Oftentimes, her siblings would find her sitting alone with a book in her hands, which could pass off for normal as any other child, except Elaine would be holding the book at arm's length with the corners and spine towards her, while the pages were held away, as if she were holding the book for someone else to read. If she was caught, she would pretend nothing happened. However, if left alone, the book would remain backwards for hours on end. Interesting. Other instances, Elaine would sit in front of the Durrells' old oak piano and gently lay her fingers on the keys. But once her fingertips made contact, she would make the slightest jerk, so faint you'd have to be right near her to feel it, and then sit motionless for minutes, if not hours. Reasons such as these made her siblings' distanced and hostile behavior towards her almost seem reasonable. Nevertheless, their actions drove Elaine away, and when she turned 18, she and Donwald married and moved far away to the lone house on the hill. There, Donwald and Elaine lived happily, and Elaine's strange habits ceased. The reason she predicted was because of her loving husband. Donwald and Elaine had one child there, a girl named Sonia. They blessed her with love throughout her infancy, and as Sonia grew up, the lone house on the hill soon no longer owned that title. As the house was industrialized and other buildings as the hill was industrialized and other buildings grew around it. By the time Sonia reached childhood, she was able to go to the newly built school not too far away from her home. Soon, Sonia grew up and moved away from her parents. Obviously, the aging Donwald and Elaine were happy for their daughter, but perhaps her absence was more impacting than they predicted. Only months after Sonia's leave, Elaine began her odd mannerisms again. Even Donwald could not aid her, as he fell under his own obsessions. One day, Donwald had been reminiscing over old photos in the basement, while Elaine was playing the piano. One picture of Sonia as a child, standing at the bus stop on the first day of school. Another was an old sepia-tone picture of Elaine as a young girl, standing poised in a puffy dress. Comparing the two photos, Donwald couldn't help but smile. Not necessarily a happy smile, but the smile of a content man who had lived a life well lived. Lifting up another box of photos, he found something he had never seen before. Hidden beneath that box was a round brassy hinge, and attached to the hinge was a door layered in years of dirt. Donwald moved his gaze, and then it stops. Man! And then I have a long, long story. Should I read it? Let me know in the comments below if you want me to read these.